Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel with me, Matthew Morgan. I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas and enjoyed the festivities. Maybe Santa bought you an SL2 and left it under the tree, who knows? Obviously with Christmas out of the way, we're now looking forward to 2025. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for liking the videos and subscribing to the channel in 2024. And if you haven't already liked this video, please pause, please press like, and I'm just going to finish my mince pie. Right then, on with today's review, and we've got an absolute cracker, not a Christmas cracker, to bring in the new year. Now, regular viewers of the channel might remember we've looked at a couple of Australian spec Mirokus before. We've done the 9000, check the video out. We've done the MK10 Trap. Do check out the video of that also. Now, I did mention in that video that we were trying to get some more Australian Mirokus over here to British soil. And guess what? We've only gone and done it. So kicking off today with our first brand new Australian spec Miroku on the channel, we have got the fabulous limited edition MK10 Deluxe. Now, I make no bones about the fact I'm a massive Miroku fan, always have been, always will be. I get really excited about the thought of being able to get hold of these extra special guns that we can't get here in the UK. And today I'm going to show you one. Right, so introducing the MK10 Deluxe. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, the MK10 is a similar gun to an MK38 in terms of the mandrels are the same. It's got the same kind of action profile in terms of the depth, the barrel bore, etc. But there are some differences, and some of these I believe are better suited to UK shooters than the guns we get over here. But that's just my opinion. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you think. Right, so we start off with the action. And when I first showed this gun to somebody last week, they immediately said, that's an MK11. But obviously, looking closer, you can see it's not an MK11 because it hasn't got that low profile 725 action. It's got traditional deep body Browning Miroku design, not dissimilar to my mince pies. Right, so as you can see, this one, we have got a very nicely engraved side-plated model. Now, if you Google the kind of style, the design that they've come up with this gun, it's very, very similar. It pretty much emulates the old D5G side plate, still available from Browning at, you know, a mortgage plus a Ferrari, but it's that kind of style. It's nice deep scroll. There's no game scene like you've got on the MK11. If you haven't seen that video, it is on the channel. Do check it out. So we've got full coverage side plates. We've got nicely engraved side plate screws. We've got an engraved forend iron, as you would imagine. What's different with this over the MK11 is you've got this actual kind of imitation actual side plate. Let's not forget this whole thing is one piece, but it actually has the illusion of looking like they've added the side plate into the rest of the action, and I think it looks really smart. Onto the underside of the action, again we've got the same kind of scroll work. We know that Miroku are huge fans of using the kind of leafy floral engraving, all that botanical stuff, so we've got some more of that here. We've got some very nicely engraved barrel lumps, and on the other side of the action, it's basically a mirror image. Again, we've got this very, very nice deep scroll work. It's not as deeper engraving as the MK11, because I think when you look at the MK11 sometimes, it almost looks a little bit cartoony because of the depth of the engraving. So I think what they've done here, they've not gone over the top. And like I said, it's like a Browning D5G. The barrel wings, as you would expect, we've got some more florally Venus flytrap kind of stuff. And on the top of the action, again, it's all leaves, it's all flowers, but it just works really, really nicely. It's not over the top. I think the scroll is subtle enough to people to go, oh, what's that, without being in your face. And the back strap itself is a little bit different. If we just open the gun, we've got a bit more swirly bits and bobs going on. Again, it's more leaf, more floral. And I particularly like the design on the top lever, where you've got this kind of contrast of some dark and light stuff with a little bit of stippling, which is something you don't normally see on a Miroku. The safety catch, I've referred to this before in previous videos. You've got this munchy design, which is a chocolate snack, and also you've engraved either side. Now this gun in particular is a sporting gun, so we've got a manual safety. So onto the barrels, we have got, this is a 32-inch gun. I have mentioned previously, I will mention it again. It's a limited edition, no longer available. I was very lucky to get this last gun. 18.7 bores, so we've got Invector Plus flush fit multi-chokes, 10mm rib, again it's quite standard Miroku gear, particularly for this country. No centre bead, which is interesting, and instead of having the traditional white foresight bead, we've actually got a brass one, which kind of indicates that this gun is very much geared towards someone who wants an all-rounder or even an out-and-out game gun. Non-ventilated barrels, which is quite interesting because the previous guns we've reviewed on the channel, which were the Australian spec, the 9000 and the MK10 trap, they did have ventilated barrels. Again, I can only assume that they've gone down a bit like the kind of the high pheasant line and very much marketed this particular model at kind of game shooters. Another interesting point is we haven't got the full center rib, which again is something manufacturers do to kind of reduce the weight of the barrels, improve the balance. We have got engraved barrel wings. We have got some nice engine turning on the ejectors. So what's really interesting is that this gun's got 2 3/4 inch chambers, whereas a lot of modern day Mirokus tend to be 3-inch. Bottom of the action, again, we've got this nice continuation of the deep scroll work where it almost gives the image of having the 2 colours, the black against the silver, which I think works really well. The barrels are of a high gloss bluing. And just to finish off, we've got a Miroku MK10 sticker on the barrel, which will no doubt be taken off. Right, so now we're going to move on to the forend. We have got almost certainly European walnut, which is interesting because what tends to happen with Miroku, they tend to use American. So on this particular model, we've got European. I think it is grade 4/5, double point checkering, schnabel forend, nicely engraved forend latch, probably the nicest engraved forend latch I've seen for a while. If you pick up an MK38 grade 5 and MK11, they've all got the same kind of design. I particularly dislike the one on the MK11. I think it looks a bit cheap and tacky. But this one, we've got like a mixture of leafy things with figs in the middle. I like. Engraved forend iron, which again, just finishes off that, you know, you get to the point where it's almost seamless where the action joins the forend because the engraving style is that good and is that well thought out. And inside the forend, it's very much standard kind of Miroku tackle. So now let's look at the balance, obviously the weight, which of course affects the balance. Now this gun is a 32-inch and it weighs 8 pounds 6 ounces. So it's a good kind of weight as a crossover gun. You could easily take it game shooting, you know, high birds, you could take it clay shooting, no problem. It's probably even heavy enough to shoot some down the line, some trap disciplines if you wanted to. So balance wise, 8 pounds 6 ounce. And we have got a little bit of tip in the front end, which obviously would mean if you wanted the weight further back, you would then have to look at putting some weight in stock or, you know, changing the recoil pad or whatever. But to be fair, you know, it's only kind of just in front of the hinge pin, so it's not bad at all. What I do want to touch on is if you love the Miroku brand and you want a side plate model, you know, you're kind of embedded in the Miroku a bit like I am. Not everybody likes the MK11, not everybody likes that shallow profile action. And if you go back to the MK11 video we did, the 32-inch MK11 was similar. It didn't bounce particularly on the hinge pin. So again, with any of these guns, you would have to look potentially at the balance. But ultimately, if you prefer that deeper traditional brand design, then this is a good alternative to an MK11. So onto the trigger. Here in the UK, the MK38 are supplied as standard with an adjustable trigger if you get a sport model. The trap guns aren't, they are a fixed trigger, and what we've got in this MK10 is also a fixed trigger, which again kind of says to me this has been designed as something that is going to appeal to game shooters, because game shooters don't really tend to like some of the features you get on sporters, like adjustable trigger. So onto the wood, and this is where we get the main difference between this and some of the other Miroku models. So what we've got here is we've got 14 3/4 inch. You will recognise the recoil pad from an MK38. It's their standard Patmeyer MK38 Sporter design. So what we've got here is we've got a higher comb than a standard MK38, whereas you get 35-55 on an MK38. This gun, which you can probably see, is almost parallel. There's only 10 or 12 mil of drop on the comb. What that means is it gives someone the alternative to having an adjustable comb fitted or having the gun bent, because I'm never a fan of bending brownies and Mirokus, particularly side-plated guns of any kind. So if you're a taller guy with a longer neck and you need a higher comb, this is going to be a really, really good option for you. I think ultimately it measured out at about sort of 36-45, so almost kind of trap dimensions, which a lot of people, particularly in the MK38 range, really like. Another thing they really like is the fact that on the traditional MK38 trap gun, you've got a palm swell. Now here in the UK, we don't get palm swells on the MK38, not quite sure why. If you watch the channel, you'll realise I'm a big fan of palm swells, particularly on kind of sporting, sometimes game guns, but certainly sporting guns. And when you've got quite a thick comb with a higher stock, the palm swell on this just feels really, really good. And like I said, it's just not an option if you buy an MK38 here in the UK. So palm swell, higher comb. The wood itself, we have got a nice natural finish, like a semi-satin, very, very nicely figured. Again, you need strength in the head of the stock. We've got the strength. We've got really, really nicely figured with some real nice contrast of the colours, some light and dark in the back of the stock. Double point checkering, a nice, quite a big pistol grip, which feels really good. It's certainly got more of a sweep on it, or a tighter radius, if you like, than you would have on an MK38 Sporter. As you would expect with all high-grade Mirokus, which of course this is, we finish off with a vacant oval, so you can have your initials, a picture of your dog, whatever you want to get engraved by whoever you want to get engraved by on there as a personal touch. So we move on to another change. Here in the UK, if you buy a Miroku MK11, it will come supplied in a swanky case. Not the case with the MK10, so I did there, the case joke, right? So you still get the traditional grey cardboard box. There's two schools of thought here. Yes, from a presentation point of view, it'd be nice if it came in a case, and I will certainly find a case to put with this gun. But from a practicality point of view, this is probably going to end up in the loft of all your old Lego. We open the box, and inside we've got some genuine Japanese polystyrene, and cardboard in fact. Some grease-proofy paper to protect the gun in transit. And in here we have got the grey standard Miroku choke box. So inside this was a real shock. We have got some actual, obviously they're Invector Plus multi-chokes, but they are Carlson branded, which is an American choke manufacturer. There's two in the gun, and we've got, I think, a couple in here. Interesting choice. Maybe it's just for the MK10 Deluxe Sideplate. I could not comment on that, but ultimately, the Browning choke system, Invector Plus, been around for years, very, very proven, very popular, so there should be no issue with these chokes. We have got a different choke key to what we normally get. It's a kind of a T-bar. You might remember from the MK11 video, I slated that naff little piece of metal that looks like you get tyres off bicycles with it. This is a much better choke key in my opinion. Steel construction with the knobbly bits in to get a real good seat in the chokes. And then we move on to the infamous book of words, whereas we normally have MK38, 1670, we've got the addition of the MK10. Let's not forget that essentially they are very, very similar guns in terms of the barrel and action design and the platform it's built on. The main differences we've got here are cosmetic, and also some of the changes in the barrel profile, which are very slight, obviously change the balance. To finish off, we've got the inspection certificate, which has got MK10 Deluxe Sideplate, the fact that it's got Invector Plus chokes in it, and the fact that it's been inspected and approved and all that kind of stuff. In terms of proofing, we have different rules here to the Australians, of course, where this gun has come from. So what we're going to have to do here is actually get the gun UK proofed. The advantage there is, of course, you can choose what level of proofing you want, and ultimately, with the way things are today, this gun will be proof for high performance steel. So that has been the fabulous new arrival, limited edition Miroku MK10 Deluxe Sideplate with me, Matthew Morgan, at the Eastfield Gunroom. If you've got any questions about this particular gun, you know you're counting down to midnight and you wonder what the stock's made of, then drop me an email. Details are on the screen. Don't forget to check out the website. If you haven't already liked the videos and subscribed to the channel, please do that, because we do appreciate your support. It's at this point we would ask you to put forward your ideas for next year as well. You know, what reviews do you want to see? Is there anything particularly you'd like us to talk about? Any topics you'd like us to discuss? Send your suggestions. Let us know what you want to see in 2025, and we will do our absolute best to bring them to you. And just to finish off, I want to wish you all a very, very happy new year. Thanks for your support in 2024, and I'll see you next year.